Hello everyone, my name is Nihal Ansari and I am here a software trainer at Vcare Institute, Lakshminagar. So today I am going to teach you about loops in C programming. In previous classes, we have finished introduction, fundamentals related to C and variables. So let's move ahead and talk about loops. So basically in loops, we have repeated the same process until a specific condition satisfies. So it is about iterations, and by the mean of iteration, we just say that iterations means repeating the same process until a specific condition satisfies. So let's move ahead and talk about सपोज हम एक प्रोग्राम प्रिंट करना चाहते हैं जिसमें हम एक नेचुरल नंबर्स 1 से लेकर 100 तक प्रिंट करना चाहते हैं। तो हमारे पास दो तरीके हैं, या तो हम सेम जो अर्लियर मेथड है प्रिंट एफ को यूज करें और 100 लाइंस में एक के बाद एक नंबर लिखते जाएं, लिखते जाएं, या फिर हमारे पास होगा कि हम एक लूप का यूज करें जिसमें हम आई की वैल्यू 1 से लेकर 100 तक करें और एक टर्मिनेशन कंडीशन दें जिसमें से 4 लाइंस में हमारा प्रोग्राम हो जाएगा। सो बेटर मेथड रहेगा ऑफ कोर्स लूप्स को यूज करना, कि हमारा 4 लाइन का छोटा सा कोड होगा और वो प्रोग्राम चलेगा। हाउएवर जो पुराना जो कोड है जिसमें हम 100 लाइंस में प्रिंट कर रहे थे वो बहुत लंबा होगा, प्रोग्राम होगा और वो हमारा टाइम बहुत कंज्यूम करेगा। सो इसलिए वो एक गलत तरीका होगा। ठीक है, नाउ मूव अहेड। So there should be some necessary conditions for loops. So what are those conditions? First we have to initialize the variable by ये हम पुराना तरीका कर रहे हैं जहां पर हम एक वेरिएबल डिक्लेयर कर रहे हैं जो कि जिसका डेटा टाइप इंटीजर है और हमने लास्ट में एक ही वैल्यू को 1 इनिशियलाइज कर दिया है। और वी कैन डायरेक्टली राइट int b is equals to 1. In this we have added the two procedures. We have initialized the variable v equals to 1. Now this, sorry, now the next condition is test expression. So in the test expression, we are just incrementing or decrementing the initialized value. So suppose it is a plus plus, and I have already told you it's an assignment operator, and its value is equals to a is equals to a plus 1. Remember, it is not equal to, it's an assignment, so we are assigning a new value to a. And similarly, b minus minus is equal to b is equal to b minus 1. So it's an assignment, we are assigning new value which is equals to b equal to b minus 1. Or we can directly assign the values of a is equals to a plus 1. Now there is a third condition, termination condition, and this condition is very important. This condition is very important in case for loops, because we have to specify what would be the termination condition, and termination condition would be a less than is equal to 100 if we want to print 100 natural numbers, or in some cases b greater than is 0 equal to 0. So these are some necessary conditions for loop which we have to specify. Now let's move ahead and talks about types of loops in C programming. So basically there are three types: do while loop and for loop. So and their syntax is given. So their syntax is simple. We have to make do and we have to start the bracket, which is the starting of the body of do while loop, and then while, and there is a condition, the condition which I have already mentioned, all the conditions like test expression, termination, initialization. Similarly in the case of while, and the condition is mentioned in the inside the while bracket, and then the braces, and starting off the our body of while loop. Then there is a for loop where we have the three condition: initialization condition and termination, that is increment and decrement, we have already mentioned in our previous slide. And then the our for loop body started, body of for loop, and the braces ended. Now let's move ahead. So one by one we should talk about all these loops. So let's start with do while loop. and let's talk about in detail. So its first point is that in do while loop there is an execution of loop at least once because the condition comes later, so we have to execute loop at least once. And they are used in menu driven programs, which means it is programmed by user like your mobile phone, like your operating systems, where the condition is provided by the user. So it is also called post tested loop. And this is a flowchart for a do and while loop. So the do while loop, so there in the do we have printed our statement, and in the while there is a condition. So if the condition becomes true, the do statement got printed, and this goes on and on until the condition become false and we have gone to the end of the program. So let's move ahead and let's focus on some practical examples. So first example are natural numbers from 1 to 10. So let's do that. So we just write in comments what we want to make. Program to print natural numbers from 1 to 10. So let's start this by following the previous syntax. As I have already stated, we have to include our studio file, that is input and output file, and start our main program. Let's start our bracket, what we want to do. So in this, we have to specify a variable and initialize its value is equals to 1. Now let's start our do loop. This is no new for you, so look carefully. So we have want to print our numbers. We have specify I variable as integer, so format specifier would be percentage %d, and let's print the value of I, and also print the escape sequences n. So let's end this statement by printing semicolon, and the value of initializes, the initialized value should be incremented. And let's run this program. So while I, this is the termination condition because we want to print 10 natural numbers, so it should be ended with 10. So while I less than is equal to 10 and return 0. So this is our program, and let's make that, compile and run. Yeah, so you can see that there are 10 natural numbers printed. So we have printed, we have make our first program, that is printing natural numbers from 1 to 10. So let's make the other program, that is table of a given number. So let's make this program as we studied from our childhood, the table of 2, 1, 3. So let's make a program to print the table of given number. So let's include the stereo file, that is input and output, and start our main program. So let's do that, and we have to specify two variables. It is for loop and the number, the table we want to print. And let's start uh, by asking user that what is the number that he or she will choose. So enter a number, which table you want to print, and then scanf, take that number from user. So we have chooses the integer, so format specifier is percentage %d, and we have to save the number in the address of number. Now let's start our do while loop. So here we have to printf. So percentage %d is the format specifier, new line escape, and what we have to do is number into I. We want to print the table, so it's a number into I, and let's end this statement and the test expression, that is the assignment operator I plus plus, and now write the while, and inside it is condition, that is I should be less than is equal to 10 for table. And so now let's run this program, and here the program asks to us what would be the number we have to choose. So let us suppose we have chosen 5. So it gives the table of 5 as you can see from the program. Now let's make another number table. So enter a number. Let us suppose we want to take a 80 number table, and it comes. So this is how we can make the table of a number by using do and while loops. So now we have also done the table of a given number. So let's move ahead and move towards while loop. So in while loop, basically there is a execution of code multiple times when we want to execute code multiple times. And in this case the number of iterations means repetition is not known in advance. We don't know. We would ask to user how he or she wants to end this program. So it is also called a pre-tested loop, and its flowchart is given its condition. So if the condition become true, then the statement will execute, and it will become so on the statement execution proceed until the condition becomes false, and this will be the end of our program. So let's move ahead and now move to some practical side. So there are sample examples. So we have done in the previous slide, the previous practical, we have printed the table of a given number. So let's do this program again by while loop. So let's move to our program. So program to print the table of given number using while loop. So let's do that, and let's start with including the stdio, that is our standard header file to for input and output, and let's start our main program. So of course we have to specify some variables having data type integer, number is equals to 0, and this number we have to ask to user. So let's printf enter a number, and the user follow the proper syntax, enter a number and scanf, and we have to do to specify its format scanf percentage %d and saved in the address of number. So let's move ahead and start our while loop. So let's do printf percentage %d. We have to print the table of this number, number into I as we have done previously. And let's turn this and use the test expression I plus plus. Let's end this loop and let's end this program by return 0 for successful execution. Now let's execute this. So here the program asked enter a number, again enter a 5, and here it comes the same output but using while loop. Again compile the program and write the table of 80 as we have done previously, and it's the 80 of table executed same as in the previous case but using while loop. Now let's move ahead and move to for loop. So for loop basically iteration of statements performed or a block. So, and it is usually used for traversing the data structure like array and linked list, which you are going all which you all are going to read further in further classes. And in the for loop flowchart, there is an initialization, and then after initialization there is a condition. So if condition becomes true, the statement executed, and after the execution of statement there is an increment and decrement, that is the test expression, and this continues until the condition becomes false, and this is the end of the program. So let's move ahead and do some examples related to for loop, sample examples. Now again we have to print the table of a given number uh, using for loop. So let's do this program. So we have to do table of a given number using for loop. So let's do that. So we have to include our header file for input and output. And now let's start our main program, and we have to specify some variables having data type integer. So we are doing just the same as we have done previously. Now we have to ask from user what he wants to enter the number as we have done previously. So there is nothing change. The only change is in the loop. So enter a number, and by scanf we save this number in the address of number. Now let's start the for loop which is new to you. So here I is equal to 1 initialization, I less than is equals to 10, I plus plus. This is the starting of for loop, initialization, termination, and test expression. Now let's start this. So this is percentage %d as we have done previously. Escape for new line, and pass the number into I. This is as we have done previously. And this is end of our loop and return 0, end of our program. Now compile it. Okay, so we have encountered some errors. So include studio.h. Now compile this. Now again the table of 5, it comes out as same as in the previous program. So let's do again compile, and again we have to 80. So the table of 80 comes out as we have done previously but using for loop. Now so this is our program. Let's move ahead, and we should talk about nested loop. So basically the nested loops are the looping of statements inside another loop. So Like you can see the syntax, and it's a general syntax for all type of loops, whether it is for loop, while loop. And so there is an outer loop, and then started, it did not finish, and the inner loop has started, and its bracket started, it's a body of inner loop, so it's termination, and then the body of outer loop has executed and its termination. So this is the example of nested loops. And there should not be restrictions on inside loop. There can be many loops, like two loops, three loops, but in the nested loop there is a looping of statements. And we have a real life example. So you can say it's a clock. So this small one is an hour, the this one is minute, and this one is second. So you know that when 60 seconds complete, when the second hand completes its round, then the minute hand moves. And when the minute hand completes its round, completes its 60 minutes, then the hour minute moves. So the we can say that the minute hand depends on the second hand, and the hour hand depends on the minute hand. So this is some kind of a nested loop. So in the nested loop, the the inner loop executed, then inner loop executed and then terminated, and then we can say that the outer loop started. So this is like same as the clock. हम जो अपने घर में घड़ी देखते हैं उसी की तरह एग्जांपल है. जब सेकंड हैंड पूरा अपना राउंड कंप्लीट करती है तभी मिनट हैंड आगे बढ़ती है. जब मिनट हैंड अपना राउंड कंप्लीट करती है तभी आवर हैंड आगे बढ़ती है. सो इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ सेम कि जब तक इनर लूप अपनी पूरी वैल्यूज खत्म नहीं करेगा, फॉल्स नहीं होगा, टर्मिनेट नहीं होगा, तब तक हमारा आउटर लूप आगे नहीं बढ़े. सो ये एक नेस्टेड लूप्स के बारे में. नाउ लेट्स मूव अहेड and move to sample examples. Sorry. So let's move ahead to subsample examples. So there is a nested for, nested while, and nested do while. So here in all three examples, I am going to displaying the value of n by using nested loop, nested for, nested while and nested do while. एंड उसके बाद आपको थोड़ा सा और समझ में आएगा कि क्या ये लूप्स, नेस्टेड लूप्स कैसे काम करता है. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल let's make a program to show the working of nested loop. So as previously, we have to include our header file for input and output. Let's start our main program, and now we have to declare a variable n. So this is the variable declaration. Now, so we have to write a printf statement that enter the value of n. Now we have to use for loop, and we are making a program to show that for nested loop. So int we have specified initialized a variable named I having data type integer. So I termination condition is n, which is we have to give by user. So we have to also save that value that user gives. So because it's an integer, so %d and save in the n address, and then terminate it, and I plus plus for increment, and let's start our outer loop. So it's an outer loop. Now we have to start our inner loop. For int, here we chooses the j variable which have initialized value of 1 and having data type integer. So j less than is equals to 10 and j plus plus. So now start the body of inner loop. So body of inner loop, and right, we want to print the value, and percentage d for format specifier for integer, escape and for sequences, and we have to multiply those values I into j. And let's end this program. Let's end. The body of inner loop has ended, and in the body of outer loop we are just printing the new line escape and end this program by writing return 0 for successful execution. Now let's compile and run this program. So we have encountered an error. So let's do that error, and it's a printf. So now let's compile it. Again, it's in printf, and now we have to enter the value of n. So let us suppose take the value of n is equals to 3. Now we can see that in the value of 3 we have printed the table of 1, table of 2, and table of 3. So this is how for nested loops work. Let's again take an example of 5, and this is a table. This is comes out the table of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So basically it takes the value of I is equals to 1, and in this I is equals to 1, j, the value of j is equal to 1 into 10. So 1 into 1, so it comes out. So we can also do that to show you. So you the value. Yeah, so I have just written the percentage d into percentage d is equals to percentage d. So basically I want to print the value of I comma j and I into j, and let's see what happens. So let's compile this program and enter the value of 3. So it comes out 1 into 1 is equals to 1. So basically in this case, in here, the value of I here is 1 and the value of j is here is 1, and this is the value of I into j as we want to print. Here is the value of I, and here's the value of j, and here's the value of ij. So basically in these cases I have a value of 1 but j value increases. जैसे मैंने आपको क्लॉक का एग्जांपल दिया था कि जब सेकंड की जो हैंड है, सेकंड की सुई है, जो पूरा आपका राउंड कंप्लीट करती है 60 सेकंड्स का, तब जाके हमारी आई की वैल्यू बढ़ती है। तो तब हमारी मिनट की घड़ी बढ़ती है एक आगे। उसी तरह से जब मिनट की घड़ी अपना 60 मिनट्स कंप्लीट करती है, यानी एक राउंड कंप्लीट करती है, तब जाके आवर की घड़ी बढ़ती है। उसी तरह से नेस्टेड लूप में भी हो रहा है। ये आपका आउटर लूप शो कर रहा है, ये इनर लूप शो कर रहा है। ठीक है, आउटर लूप में क्या है, जब तक इनर लूप अपना पूरा राउंड कंप्लीट नहीं करेगा आउटर लूप की वैल्यू नहीं बढ़ेगी। तो यहाँ पे आउटर लूप की वैल्यू अभी भी 1 है और इनर लूप की वैल्यू बढ़ रही है। ये जब अपना 10 तक राउंड कंप्लीट कर लेगी उसके बाद आपका ये आउटर लूप की वैल्यू बढ़ेगी। हमने देखा यहाँ पे 2 बढ़ गई है। ठीक है, और इनर लूप की फिर से 1 से स्टार्ट हुई। जैसा आप घड़ी में देखते हैं कि घड़ी जब अपना पूरा 60 सेकंड्स, जो सेकंड हैंड है वो 60 सेकंड्स कंप्लीट कर दी 1 राउंड, उसके बाद 1 मिनट होता है। लेकिन जैसे ही वो नेक्स्ट मिनट होता है उसमें जो सेकंड की घड़ी है वो स्टार्टिंग फिर से 1 से होती है। तो उसी तरह से ये है कि आपका जो आउटर लूप की वैल्यू आपकी बढ़ गई है, इनर लूप की वैल्यू फिर से 1 से शुरू हुई है। और आप देख सकते हैं इनर लूप की वैल्यू बढ़ रही है बट आउटर लूप की वैल्यू बिल्कुल नहीं बढ़ी। जब वो 10 राउंड कंप्लीट करेगी तब जाके फिर वो आउटर लूप की वैल्यू इंक्रीमेंट होगी 3, और उसके बाद इनर लूप फिर से अपनी वैल्यू 1 से शुरू करेगी। सो ये इसे हम नेस्टेड लूप्स कहते हैं। ठीक है, अब हम इसी प्रोग्राम को सो वर्किंग ऑफ नेस्टेड लूप, हमने यहाँ पे फॉर लूप बना लिया, अब हम वाइल लूप के लिए बनाते हैं। ठीक है, कि वाइल लूप कैसे काम करता है और हम सेम प्रोग्राम बनाते हैं। ठीक है, तो हम इसी इसी प्रोग्राम को जो हमने अभी किया था उसे हम वाइल लूप से करते हैं। हमने किया, उसके बाद हम अपने मेन प्रोग्राम पर आते हैं। ठीक है, और यहाँ पे स्पेसिफाई करते हैं int, यहाँ पे i कॉमा j, यहाँ पे हम i की वैल्यू 1 से शुरू करते हैं, j की वैल्यू को भी 1 से शुरू करते हैं, एंड और एक नंबर ले लेते हैं जो कि हम यूजर से पूछेंगे, स्टार्टिंग वैल्यू हम नंबर की 0 ले लेते हैं। ठीक है, अब हम यूजर से मांगेंगे उसकी वैल्यू क्या होना चाहिए, एंटर द नंबर, और स्कैनफ से हम, क्योंकि एक इंटीजर है तो यहाँ पे हम परसेंटेज डी लिखेंगे फॉर्मेट स्पेसिफायर, और उसके एड्रेस में सेव कर लेते हैं। ठीक है, अब हम अपना वाइल लूप को शुरू करते हैं। ठीक है, वाइल, तो हम अपना वाइल लूप को शुरू करते हैं। अब वाइल लूप के केस में हमारी कंडीशंस रहेगी वाइल आई, ठीक है, लेस देन इज इक्वल टू आई की वैल्यू हमारी नंबर से जा रही है तो हम आई इज इक्वल टू नंबर। ठीक है, और इसको शुरू किया, ये हमारा आउटर लूप है। हम इसके आउटर लूप के अंदर वहां पे गए, और फिर हमने वाइल जे की वैल्यू लेस देन इज इक्वल टू 10 करी, जो हमने पहले करी थी, और उसके बाद हम इसको हमने कहा इनर लूप, और फिर उसके बाद हम फिर से इस लूप के वो इनर लूप के इनसाइड गए। उसके बाद हमने जो प्रिंट करना चाह रहे थे वो हम वैल्यूज को प्रिंट करेंगे। ठीक है, सो एज वी आर डूइंग एज सेम, परसेंटेज जी एक्स एंड परसेंटेज डी, परसेंटेज डी इज इक्वल्स टू परसेंटेज डी, ये हमने कर लिया। उसके बाद हमें स्पेसिफाई करना है क्या क्या वैल्यूज प्रिंट करना है, आई इंटू जे एंड आई इंटू जे। सो ये हमने खत्म कर लिया। उसके बाद ये हमारा जो था बॉडी ऑफ इनर लूप, ये हमारी बॉडी इनर लूप के लिए थी, और हमने इनर लूप से शुरू किया, और उसके बाद हमें इस वैल्यूज को बढ़ाना भी है। सबसे पहले जे प्लस प्लस से हमने इसको बढ़ाया। ठीक है, ये हमारा इंक्रीमेंट टेस्ट एक्सप्रेशन था, और उसके बाद हम जब लूप से बाहर निकले तो हमने फिर आई को भी बढ़ाया, और यहाँ पे आउटर लूप में ये हमने स्टार्ट किया बॉडी ऑफ आउटर लूप, जिसमें हम बस एक नई लाइन प्रिंट कर रहे हैं, प्रिंट न्यू लाइन, और हमने इसको खत्म किया। हमें सिंटेक्स प्रॉपर लिखना पड़ेगा, तो प्रिंट एफ प्रॉपर। उसके बाद हम इस प्रोग्राम को एंड करते हैं बाय राइटिंग रिटर्न 0। सो हमने रिटर्न 0 किया, और हम इसको कंपाइल करते हैं। हमने फिर से 3 नंबर एंटर किया, देखते हैं हमारा क्या आता है। सो अभी तो ये गलत आ रहा है, अभी देखते हैं कि क्या गलती हुई है। सो यस,